being our true selves. Now, I've talked about this a lot in videos, and it is a phrase that gets bandied around a lot in the self-development and healing communities. And I think it's the best way we can live, for sure, if we're being true to ourselves, being our true selves, being true to ourselves. I don't think it's always easy. I think it can be nuanced, and I think sometimes we can do it in some areas of life, but not in others. And I think sometimes we master it in certain areas and we get really comfortable, and then a curveball comes in, or we step up a level and there's another arena of working, another layer in that we hadn't anticipated. You know, I think as we get stronger in who we are in our bodies, we also get more challenged in who we are in our bodies as well. So I think, and I'm going to share a story from my world just to illustrate, which is about my relationship with social media. How appropriate. So I am naturally a shy introvert. That's my natural nature, which most people are like, oh, don't be ridiculous because of all the dance stuff I do. But it is actually my natural nature space. So I find social media very challenging. I find it genuinely, I don't want to share lots on there. Genuinely, I don't understand why people would want to share what's on lots on there. I grasp it in terms of, if you run a business, it's advertising for you, etc. It has a place. I understand it has a place, but in my heart, none of it, makes sense. And there are days when I think if I didn't have a business, I certainly wouldn't be doing all of this. I'd be quite happily living in my own bubble, not knowing what the rest of the world are doing. So I have all of that, I understand its purpose. I have my own personal feelings about it. And then I, in order to kind of help me develop, I signed up in some coaching groups in the last couple of years and was exposed to their processes and procedures and how they do things. And I adopted those for a year. And threw my heart and soul into it, which is another character trait I have. If I'm going to take something on, I will really take it on and run with it. And I will power through where I find things hard, which is exactly what I did with this. I got to the end of the year. Honestly, it hadn't really made much of a difference, and I had followed things to the letter. Hadn't made much of a difference to the business overall, and I was completely burnt out. And it took me a while so I stopped doing that because it wasn't helping my health and well-being. And it took me a while to realise that actually, in trying to employ those processes that were suggested, they were entirely out of alignment with me being my true self in the world. And so I was continually, every single day, trying to be someone else, basically, by the act of trying to follow the process of posting on social media. Not in the content was all me, but the act of following their process. So it was an interesting, and it's taken several months for me to really see that clearly. And I will say I don't have a solution to what I've uncovered, but what I did realise is I can't do that. I can't do it. I've got to prioritise my health and well-being. I've got to prioritise being my true self in the world, because that directly impacts my health and well-being. And if I am even one tiny iota not being me out there, it's going to affect my health and well-being. And so, yeah, what I did was I backed off. Have just made videos like these when I feel like doing them. Have posted when it feels comfortable to do that. Have not, I believe they call it doom scrolling. Don't do that. Half the time I have no clue what even half my carnival dancers are doing because I don't use the feed. And guess what? Started to feel better. Started to feel more like me again, which impacted my health and well-being. Started to feel my energy raise. And I'm just using that as a small example of living outside of alignment with our true self for long enough that it can start to impact. And it wasn't, it wasn't giving me serious health, but it impacted enough. It pushed me into burnout. So this is why I say it's really important to constantly check in and track what is you being your true self. What is that? And what does that look like every single day? How does that need to tweak and change as you move through life? And tracking it. And sometimes, life throws us curveballs, and we have to live outside of alignment. There are things we have to get done. There are other demands on our time and space. And that's just how it is. But even within that, we can find moments to reconnect. And that's really important too, so that we don't manifest a deeper, bigger health issue down the line. So those are my thoughts today on being true to yourself. If you've got questions, let me know. If you want to work one-to-one, I work specifically with women, helping them find their way through all of that, navigating, because it isn't a black and white path. It isn't as simple as just chucking everything out. And in my humble experience, it's a dance. It's a dance of nurturing yourself and nurturing the rest of the world and tweaking and checking in. So have a look at how you're doing that. Change it, tweak it if you need to. Get in touch if you need to. Have a great day. Bye.